Today we're heading into Sertã, right in the middle of Portugal, and very conveniently for us, sitting on one of the country's most famous roads, the Estrada Nacional 2. If you've never heard of the N2, think Portugal's answer to Route 66, only with more roundabouts and better coffee. It runs 739 kilometres from Chaves in the north to Faro in the Algarve, passing through 35 municipalities. It officially became the N2 in 1945, although parts of the routes are much older and follow roads that have connected the interior of Portugal for centuries. There's even a passport. Yes, a passport for a road. You collect stamps from the tourist board along the route, and because apparently riding 739 kilometres isn't enough, you need paperwork to prove it. It's actually a brilliant idea because instead of just racing from Chaves to Faro saying, "Woohoo, I've done the N2, it encourages you to stop and look at the places that you're riding through, which is pretty much what we're doing in these videos. We're not collecting towns, we're nosing around them, and Sertã is definitely worth nosing around in. The area was occupied long before Portugal even existed. There's evidence of pre-Roman settlement, followed by Lusitanians, Romans and later Muslim occupation. The Templars controlled Sertã between 1165 and 1174, which, after it passed to the Order of Hospital, which became enormously important here. And overlooking all of our first stop, a castle with a story involving Romans, a furious widow, fried eggs and a pan full of boiling oil. Portugal really knows how to do its history properly. You might notice that we're wearing different clothes in some of the pictures, and some of the pictures are at a different time of the year, and that's because we did have a look at the N2 last year, and so I thought I'd throw in some of the pictures of the things we did for the N2. Okay, we're heading to Castelo de Sertã. And immediately we have a problem because nobody can say with absolute certainty who originally built it. The local tradition says it was founded in 74 BC by Quintus Sertorius, the Roman commander who allied himself with the Lusitanians. Very impressive. Unfortunately, archaeology has rather spoiled the story. Excavators carried out work here in the 1990s and found no Roman or Lusitania remains inside the castle. The earliest occupation uncovered appears to be from the Islamic period, around the 10th or 11th century. So, built by the Romans? Possibly not. Definitely ancient, yes. Nice view? Absolutely. It's an unusual five-sided fortification, and by the 19th century, much of it was already ruined. In fact, some of the stone was reportedly taken away and reused to repair the town bridge. Nothing wasted in Portugal, not even the castle. And then Sertã gives us giant furniture, because obviously after medieval fortification, the natural step is an enormous table and chairs. I've searched for a grand historical explanation of these, but I haven't found one, so until someone from Sertã tells me otherwise, I'm going with IKEA, Bira Basha branch. Very easy to assemble, you just need 12 men, a crane, an Allen key the size of a Honda. Anyway, back to the castle. The castle's also home to Sertã's best known legend. I love this. And it's just magnificent. According to the story, the castle was under attack by Roman soldiers, and the commander defending it was killed. His wife, Celinda, received the news while she was cooking. More specifically, she was frying eggs. Now, most people receiving news like that might cry. Celinda apparently thought, right. She grabbed the large serta or sertage, the frying pan containing hot oil, climbed onto the battlement and poured it over the attacking soldiers. Some versions say the attackers were killed or blinded. Either way, the Romans retreated long enough for reinforcements to arrive. And according to legend, that frying pan, a serta, gave the town its name, which means Sertã may be one of the few towns whose original story can essentially be summarised as "never annoy the woman cooking your breakfast." Wonderful legend, historically accurate, almost certainly not in every detail, but frankly, I don't care. Celinda's staying. Archaeological excavations here between 1996 and 1998 uncovered something rather more tangible: remains of an old granary used to store cereals, an earlier chapel, paving dating from around the 15th to 16th century, and fragments of Islamic pottery. By the 18th century, the castle was already badly ruined. Then, in 1936, local people raised money by public subscription to reconstruct one of the towers and the little chapel of São João Baptista. The chapel stands inside the castle today and replaced an early medieval church. So it isn't really one historical period, it's layers of them. Islamic occupation, medieval Portugal, military orders, chapels, reconstruction, and one extremely angry lady with a frying pan. As we're walking up to the bridge, you can see a really big, beautiful house. It's quite an impressive building. It isn't actually a house at all. It's the convent of St. Anthony, and it's been here for nearly 400 years. Construction began in 1635 as a Franciscan convent, initially home to just 4 friars. But eventually it became rather important to education in Sertã too. The friars taught Latin and later reading and mathematics. But then Portugal abolished the religious orders in 1834 and things got considerably more interesting, because since then this one building has managed to be a convent, a school, a GNR police barracks, civil prison cells, and now a hotel. So depending on which century you arrived in Sertã, you could have checked in here to pray, learn your Latin, arrest somebody, be arrested, or have a very nice night's sleep. Personally, I'd take the last one. We're now heading down towards Sertã's famous Roman bridge. Except, it isn't Roman. I know, I feel cheated too. It's commonly called the Roman Bridge because of its appearance, but its proper name is the Pont de Cavalia, and it's also known as the Pont Velia and the Pont de Varzea. The area dates its construction to the beginning of the 17th century, during the period when Portugal was ruled by the Spanish Habsburg kings, the Filipino period. So it's roughly 1,600 years too young to be Roman. Minor discrepancy. Still, Roman bridge sounds better than quite nice bridge from approximately 1600. And there's another little piece of Sertã history hidden around this area. By the 19th century, the castle we just visited was so badly deteriorated that some of its masonry was reused to repair the town's bridge. So if you're standing here looking back towards the castle, there's a possibility that part of the castle came down here before you did. Let's have a proper look at the bridge. The Pont de Cavalia is about 64 metres long and carried on 6 rounded stone arches. The third arch from the town side is the highest. It crosses the Ribeira de Sertã, and this whole riverside area has been closely connected with the everyday life of the town. Water wasn't just pretty scenery, it was power. Before electricity, waterways like these drove watermills, azenas, moinhas, using the force of moving water to turn machinery. Water was channeled towards a wheel. The wheel turned a shaft, and the movement could drive millstones used to grind cereals. So when we see old channels, weirs, wheels and mill structures besides Portuguese rivers, we're effectively looking at an early power supply. No socket, no extension lead, and definitely no monthly standing charge. This landscape also belongs to a world in which olive oil production was essentially part of rural life. Traditionally, the olives were harvested and brought to the lager, or olive press. First they had to be crushed into a paste, then large stone wheels were used. The paste was then spread onto circular mats or discs, which were stacked together beneath the press. Pressure squeezed out a mixture of oil and water. That liquid was then left so the oil separated from the water, and eventually you got olive oil. Today it's wonderfully peaceful. Back then in this area would have sounded completely different. Water rushing, wooden machinery moving, millstones grinding, and people working. And presumably somebody shouting, "Who left the donkey there?" Probably. Sertã has got several historic religious buildings, but two particularly important ones sit in the old centre. The Igreja Matriz de São Pedro dates from the early 15th century. It has 3 naves and contains impressive gilded woodwork, paintings and large panels of patterned tiles. The church is dedicated to St. Peter, patron saint of both the parish and the municipality. There is also the Igreja de Miscordia, and I think I talked about Miscordia in the last video for Missão, so if you're interested in that, you need to watch that video. It was built during the first half of the 16th century. Inside are blue and white tile panels, gilded carving, and an 18th century decorated ceiling. So if you like old Portuguese churches, Sertã's got you covered. Something else that struck us here though, in several of the towns we visited so far, the war memorial has occupied a very prominent position in the centre. But Sertã feels different. There isn't a big central monument dominating the heart of the town in the same way. Commemoration in the wider municipality can instead be found in the little villages, while in the town itself, the memory of military service appears in its street names. I actually find that quite interesting, because remembrance doesn't always have to take the form of one enormous stone monument in the main square. Sometimes it's woven into the places that people use every day. A road name, a village memorial, a name you pass without really thinking about a person behind it. Different towns remember it in different ways. Now, history is all very well, but eventually Scenic Throttle reaches the important cultural question: what's for lunch? We found this little cafe. It's got easy parking, it's calm, it's friendly, and burger and chips for €7, which at the current exchange rate is approximately £6 UK, or in official Scenic Throttle currency, very cheap. And it was genuinely really good. This is one of the things that we love about travelling around these smaller Portuguese towns. No enormous tourist menu, no dramatic presentation involving slate boards, micro herbs and a burger requiring structural engineering. Just food on a plate for €7. Perfect. And obviously there was cake. There's always cake. I don't make the rules. Back on the bikes now and heading out of Sertã. We're passing somewhere with a name that caught my attention. Caf Bar a Gruta. Gruta means cave, which naturally made me wonder whether the caf was actually inside a cave. It isn't. I think there's actually a cave underneath, maybe. At least not according to anything I could find. It's a real caf at Portela dos Besourinhos on the EN 241 outside Sertã. And this led me down one of those research rabbit holes where you start thinking, I'll quickly find out why it's called a gruta, and 40 minutes later you have 17 browser tabs open, you've somehow learned about Portuguese geology and you still don't know why the cafe is called a gruta. So, Cafe Gruta. It's called a grutas. There, that's your information, you're welcome. This ride gives you an idea of why we enjoy exploring this part of Portugal so much. Within minutes of leaving town, you're back among forests, small villages and roads that seem to have been designed specifically for motorcyclists. No huge attraction, no queues, no ticket, just this. And that's increasingly what we're looking for.
I'm standing on the highest ledge, right on the world's most windy edge.
We didn't have time to try out Cafe Gruta. We definitely will in the future. So that was Sertã, a town with considerably more going on than we expected. A castle that legend says was Roman, but archaeology says wasn't. A Roman bridge that isn't Roman. A woman who allegedly defeated an army while making eggs. Ancient military orders, watermills, olive presses, beautiful churches, a mysterious house that was really difficult to identify, a €7 burger and a calf cave. Basically, Sertã spent the entire day lying to us about names of things, and we've thoroughly enjoyed it. But beneath the legends, there's some genuine fascinating history here. People were living in this region before the Romans arrived. The Muslims occupied the hilltops thousands of years ago. Templars and Hospitallers controlled the territory during the formation of Portugal. Generations worked these waterways and surrounding land, and the old town still sits around the same castle, churches and rivers and crossings. And that's exactly why we've changed the way we travel. We've done the long distance trips, we've ridden through more than 30 countries, we've chased destinations and famous roads and ticked places off lists. But now we're finding that sometimes travelling 20 kilometres slowly tells you more than travelling 1,000 kilometres quickly. We're not trying to tick off Portugal, we're trying to get to know it. One town, one village, one slightly suspicious Roman bridge, and apparently one cake at a time. If you've enjoyed coming round Sertã with us, give the video a like and subscribe to Scenic Throttle 2. And if you're from Sertã, we particularly want to hear from you. Tell us what we missed, tell us about the houses, tell us why the cafe's called Gruta, and please, don't tell Celinda we questioned her story. We've seen what she does with a frying pan. See you on the next ride.